I developed this hair braid as a music interface in 2018, which was an extension of kind of a body interface I started working on like 2013. And this hair braid more engages with machine learning and depending on the performance, but became kind of my instrument where I would if I was going to play a show, I would find a way to include the hair braid along with other instruments. So they were really supposed to be really intense, short, were really in wild collages. What's happening is that there's versions of that video that are being highlighted inside each shape, and it's tracing the path through the score, which is one version that we were playing with where I had a set path and I knew kind of the routine. And now I'm working towards a version where the installed version sort of acts like a documentation of a version of the performance. The Lakota shape kit was kind of identified and named by Sadie Redwing, Lakota designer, and the shapes are very well recognized in Lakota visual culture, artistic culture. They're everywhere. They decorate our regalia. They communicate linguistically. I interviewed Santi Luke Witt a lot during my PhD. He has a really amazing way of articulating where the songs he writes come from. And, we spent a long time in conversation, and there was a really amazing point where we were talking about who gives you these songs, where do these songs come from, and pointed out the window, was like, oh, I just got one from this bird. And then probably a year later, I was working with Third Coast Percussion, and they had commissioned a score, which I worked with them to help them write down their dreams in the language and have that interpretable as a graphic score. Collaboration is really important to me. I think that working with musicians and making scores only became more interesting when I started to try to find ways to be the facilitator of other people's improvisation and dreams. I think that is one way I see myself as an artist, as a facilitator, which is why I like working with students and working with large numbers of collaborators. Mirroring is a kind of recurring theme in Lakota visual culture, also in Lakota religion. There's a concept that a lot of Lakota artists are drawn to, which is called the Kapemni, the twisting vortex. And the Kapemni helps focus our thoughts on the connection between the cosmos and the earth. And I like to imagine that art exists at where those two things converge, which I've theorized about a lot in terms of how all artworks are collaboration between non-human beings, both physical and non-physical. So the more you talk about sleep dreams, the more you're able to access them. It's like kind of like a muscle, the ability to move the very ephemeral dream into the memory. And so, yeah, I would wake up in the morning, write a few notes down, maybe text somebody. Yeah, I had a little notebook where I would try to get them down each day. The goal of that practice is to stop dreaming in and translating into like verbal English, but to try to get my brain to actually dream in the shapes, which I haven't been able to yet, but it's always possible.
Shake, shake.